Well, it's 2014, and with each new year, many times people begin to think about, I don't know, end of the world kind of stuff. It's interesting, if you remember back in the turn of the millennium, in the year 2000, everybody thought it was the end of the world. And for some reason, at the end of the year and the beginning of a new one, we sometimes get apocalyptic. Now, I don't know what you think about this, but can you imagine if someone that you really trusted and you really believed them and they said to you, hey, the end of the world is near. In fact, it's today or tomorrow. One question that you might ask yourself is, well, what would I do if I really believed that the end of time, the absolute apocalypse was on its way? What would you do? Would you want to just go spend time with your family, hang out with them? Would you try to do something to prepare for it like you did in grade school and just get under your desk and cover your head? Good luck with that. Actually, believe it or not, God's Word sort of breaches this subject. And let me read something to you here from 1 Peter chapter 4. Peter says this, "The end of all things is at hand." Now notice what he says next. "Therefore, be self-controlled and sober-minded, for the sake of your prayers. Above all, keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins." And then he says, "Show hospitality to one another without grumbling." Now, if I'm reading that right, Peter says it's the end of the world, but then he also mentions that the response, the proper Christian response to the end of the world is not complicated. It's not anything unusual. Really, it all focuses on love. And more specifically, he hones it down to that one word, hospitality. Now, that one word, hospitality, is a word that we're all familiar with. Many of you perhaps know Martha Stewart and all the great ways that she can be a great hostess at parties and things of that nature. That's usually what we think of when we think of hospitality. But the Bible actually uses a word that literally means the love of strangers. And what it represents is the fact that in a fallen world, all of us, no matter how much we know each other, we're strangers to one another to some extent. And it's important for us to remember that strangeness is there because of our sinful condition, and that it's love, the love of Christ, that breaks down the barriers of strangeness and helps us to care for one another. That needs to happen first in the church, and then the more we're able to do that in the church, the more we're going to be hospitable to those who are truly strange to us in light of faith. For instance, someone who comes in who's never picked up a Bible, doesn't know anything about the church. I mean, if you've grown up in church, that's really hard to even talk with somebody that doesn't know anything from Abraham to David to Jesus in the New Testament. It takes work on the part of the Christian to build a bridge there. And that's hospitality. That's caring for someone, listening to them, loving them, showing them the truth of God, but getting to know them in a personal way. At First Baptist Church de Soto, we really believe that hospitality is one of the most important biblical doctrines, and we also believe that it just happens to be one of those doctrines that has been neglected for many years. For the next couple months, we're going to be doing a series on hospitality, and what we want to do is we want to show the congregation and show the community that part of gospel living is learning how to love one another and to be hospitable. And so if you would like to learn more about this all-important topic, please be a part of our worship services, and you'll be surprised because, hey, it may be the end of the world. The simple thing, though, that we are called to do is to start loving one another and be hospitable.